see possible futures all at once. And in so many futures, our enemies prevail. But I do see a way. There is a narrow way through.
Hello friends, my name is Naz Perez and you're watching the big ticket interview for Dune Part 2, and as you can see, no unattractive people were allowed in the making of this film. It's crazy to think about the journey this story has been on to make it to the big screen. Frank Herbert's epic sci-fi novel that inspired a whole genre was denied 22 times by editors who thought it was too complex. In the 70s, Alejandro Jodorowsky tried to give us the coolest Dune movie never made. And then in the 80s, we got a Dune film, but some fans thought that it didn't quite capture all of the story. So as I was coming here, I was thinking about how, man, it's been 60 years that fans have been waiting to see Paul Atreides try and fulfill his prophecy. Timothée, I want to start with you because you play Paul, and I want to ask you about that pressure and him confronting that prophecy. Because the greatest gift Dune has ever given me is the litany against fear. Wow. I must not fear. Fear is a mind killer. Tell us about confronting that prophecy, you know, from part 1 to part 2, the becoming of what he becomes, and how you were able to fully commit to that, but still hold humility while taking direction in a scene.
Man, thank you for such a beautiful question.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, and thank you for such an intro that honors the book and all the previous versions made and unmade. And I think the easy answer is it was in Denis' hands, and he's the most passionate of all of us, I think, about this material. And this is, we see Paul Atreides here, and you actually had the correct pronunciation there when you said Atreides. I remember that from the pamphlet we got when we started the first one. And
did you say it a different way at first?
well, people say Paul Atreides, you know, but in the Frank Herbert pronunciation, it is Atreides, how you said it. This second film is the becoming, like you put it. You know, it ties the loose ends of the first movie, and we see Paul go from the sort of boyish figure from the first one and steps into the second one fatherless, and becomes the man that he needs to be, whether he's ready for it or not.
Was that daunting for you, stepping into like the
Yeah,
big M word?
absolutely, and all the more so because of everyone I'm on this couch with. Sincerely looking up to everyone here, you know, and watching No Country for Old Men for stupidly the first time right before we started this one, and realizing what titans these two were beyond the work that I already knew. So, man, a huge pressure, but honestly, I love everything I've been in, but this might be the project I'm most proud of, because for all the reasons you listed, and it's cool to be in the theater and feel like I don't know how I'm in this, and just really admire the movie and admire Denis. It's like one of these movies, man.
Yeah. Can I tell you that watching you rise as a leading man of my generation has been so beautiful to witness.
Wow.
And the way that you carried the first film, like, fans cannot wait to see you in this movie.
Thank
you. I'm waiting for like Nike to drop some Messiah Dune dunks because you're just so
That would be sick too.
You know,
Thank you.
I've heard you say before in an interview that Chani, Paul's love interest, is really his moral compass. Otherwise, the Messiah prophecy would be too abstract, right? And Zendaya, you play Chani, and Chani and Paul are literally like sci-fi Romeo and Juliet. You know, I was reading that you shot scenes with Timothée in Abu Dhabi and Jordan as the sun was going down, and I was thinking, man, like, the pressure to relax into romance when you're pressed for time, and like, how are they flirting in futuristic space talk? Like, is he wooing her with a sandwalk? You know what I mean?
Like, we were trying to figure that out too. You know?
Definitely.
I think Denis was also trying to figure that out. But I think what he's so brilliant at, which I think is so impressive, is while the movie is so massive and there's so much to cover, there's so much to, like you say, honor, right? And everybody has their own, you know, storyline, their own moments, but he always is able to find the human moments, which is what guides us through everything, and carve out those things that feel like no matter what planet you're on, you feel connected and you feel like it's your own. And so I don't know. I think I think we all were trying to figure out, how do we balance so much happening to these characters, such intense stakes, and you know, while also allowing them to just be young people that are like having this like romance and whatever, and it's conflicting and it's painful and it's confusing because Paul represents something that to her is everything she despises, you know. So,
can you tell us about bringing their epic love to life in this, because it is the center of the film?
I think trust in Denis.
Yeah.
I think we always kind of go back to that. He's I think more than anyone, he understands the material through and through because he loves it. Like I know he said that he signed like his yearbook, Muad'Dib, right? So it's like he really loves this. So when you're asking him a question, he's already thought of it like 10 times over. So all the worries I have, he's already had them, by the time I get there. And it's so nice to know that you're in safe hands and you can ask those questions and be in those moments and figure it out. And also know that you can experiment and have fun while also like being, there's structure and there's support and there's a vision already there too. Yeah. So yeah, I think we just trust that he knows he'll guide us,
Yeah. How would you describe their love in part 2?
I feel like it's I would say the love story isn't given, right? It's earned because like I said, he represents to her everything that she that represents pain, right? And hurt and fear. And so when she's confronted with the feeling of like, oh wait a minute, I think I love this person, that's like the separation between mind and heart. And how do you accept both of those things at once, and I don't, without giving anything away or ruining it for anyone, whether you've read the books or not, it is, there's a lot of sacrifices that have to be made, for something that's bigger than everyone. And so everybody has to sacrifice a little piece of their heart or big piece,
Wow.
But yeah, it's there's so much to talk, like there's so much you can keep going and going and going, there's so much to talk about. But like he said, I'm just so grateful to be here with these talented people. It's like, the whole thing, doing it, pinch me, and you're always just like, wow, I can't believe I'm here.
I know I speak for a lot of people when I say people can't wait to see more of Chani in part 2. And Zendaya, you were so effortless and yet such a force. And those feel like such opposing energies, right? But you just like make it happen, so I cannot wait. While we're on the topic of romance, Florence, you are no stranger to sharing romantic scenes with Mr. Timothée Chalamet here in films like Little Women. Fans are so excited to see you guys reunited.
Like we only ever do romantic scenes together.
I was reading that you guys had to be separated on set because you were having so much fun, and I know you like calling him Shalamala Bing Bong, so excited.
Well, my gran calls him Shalamala Bing Bong, so... Yeah.
We know how much you respect your grandparents.
I love my gran.
Respect to the gran. I was going to say, you obviously play Princess Irulan, daughter of Shaddam Emperor IV, played by the legendary Christopher Walken. Yes. Can you tell us and maybe tease what her relationship with her father is like, and what excited you most about this character, aside from like the fire headdresses that you get to wear?
Yes, that was one thing that I did do that for when I was reading the script. I was like, I'm going to get some killer costumes. But yeah, I play Princess Irulan, who is the Emperor's daughter, and she's in the middle of this dynamic of people either trying to gain power or keep hold of power, and I think she lands bang smack in the middle of learning that and learning from her father. And I was trying to explain yesterday that I think this is the most different of characters that I've ever played, because even though she is opinionated and intelligent and feisty, it never comes out of her. She's constantly watching and listening and waiting, and she's very, I suppose, making a calculated move internally constantly because she has to, and she's been trained that way. So I think, weirdly enough, she's probably been one of the quietest of characters I've played. Wow. But probably the most exciting because there is a future and you don't quite know what that is, what she's thinking. So I think I've definitely been able to just sit and watch all of these people and learn from them in scenes as well, because that is kind of what she's doing as well. So I've had a great time, and yeah, I get to be his boo again.
I can't wait for that. Director Denis Villeneuve said that you have this innate royalness to you, and like having met you, I feel like that rings so true, and I can't wait to see.
I read that and I was like, what is he on about? I swear I was either napping.
Yeah, he was like, you're gonna be prime minister one day.
I was either napping on set wearing my chainmail, or I was feeding people food.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it was a wonderful thing to read. Yeah.
I can't wait to see your princess in part 2. Equally as excited, Austin Butler, to see your Feyd-Rautha Harkonnen. I mean, I am so obsessed with your dedication of getting into character. On day one of read-throughs, you're already talking like a Harkonnen. You're training for 4 months with a former Navy SEAL to become what Denny called a cross between a psychotic sociopath serial killer and Mick Jagger, which is so sick because we almost saw Mick Jagger play this role in Jodorowsky's Dune. But we see how psychotic he is when he's like licking a knife. How did you decide to portray this villain? And tell us about that licking the knife scene.
I mean, it all starts with Denis, you know, as everybody here, I think, can attest to. It's that and going, I had read the novel when I was a teenager. And so I'd kind of had an idea, and then talking to Denis and seeing the first film and knowing the texture that he was playing within and how Feyd would fit into the tapestry that had already been laid, it really just provided so much room for play. And so I don't even remember the licking of the knife moment. I think that may have been a Denis idea where, you know, we were always just trying to find these idiosyncrasies and who Feyd was. And there's this kind of seductive, sick thing about him that I think kind of fit into that moment.
Wow. So you don't remember licking the knife?
I remember, I just don't remember where that idea came from.
He just does it all the time, you know.
Yeah, I'm constantly doing that. Yeah, testing the sharpness of knives with my tongue.
So funny.
As you do.
As you do, Austin Butler. Speaking of knives, Javier, you're like the Spanish army knife of acting. Like, you've played everything. Denis said...
Thank you.
You're welcome. Denis said that your charisma, like, explodes in part 2, which I don't even know how that's possible, because tú eres tan carismático that, like... I mean, remind me how to ask you how to get out of a speeding ticket later, because I just feel like you're so charismatic. You play Stilgar, who is in the Fremen, and he takes Paul under his wing because he believes Paul's the Messiah and he's like a father figure. What does Paul's ride on a sandworm mean to the Fremen? And did you get to ride one? Because I know that that was your dream.
I think the relationship with Paul is the relationship of a man who starts to really discover him for what he is in reality and for what he wishes him to be, based on religious fanatism. So it goes parallel, what he feels and what he expects of him. And that arc is beautifully written and done in the movie and allows us to create a nice relationship of a father figure, mentor, but also become something else, very powerful in the sense that he still worships him to a point where he's absolutely blinded, and that speaks about religion in the sense that religion fanatism is not something that is a joke. I mean, that's what creates what creates. So it's a powerful character in the sense that he changes dramatically through the story, from the beginning where he sees this new kid in town until he really gets on his knees in front of him.
And did you get to ride a sandworm?
I did. And that
you
was
tell
a
us about
promise made by Denis back in the day, and he
It's contractual.
delivered.
That's the only reason he did the movie.
He delivered.
Timothy, you have to tell me what it was like first time riding a sandworm, because that scene in the trailer is just insane.
Well, there was a whole worm unit on the movie, literally called the worm unit. That they shot, you know, if I'm right, there's a 2-minute sequence in the movie or something like that that took them 4 months to shoot or something insane. And I don't know, I don't know how to describe it. It was absolutely insane. And obviously the worm wasn't there on the day, so there is a certain process of visualization. But they built, I thought was fascinating. They built very, you know, specifically what, you know, a tiny part of the worm would sounds weird, would look like.
A whole slab of
A little
worm
slab
skin.
of worm, a little slab of worm skin, as one says.
That's even weirder.
You just kind of
Yeah,
hook into it.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how.
What did
else
it
to-
feel like?
It felt, it was exhilarating, and yeah, there's all these innuendos. No, but it was something that I feel like, I don't want to speak for Denis, I don't think they had fully figured out at the end of the first one. There's a visual at a distance at the end of the movie of someone riding a sandworm, so I think they were sort of figuring it out, but there was definitely a technique to it, you know. I remember, you know, going to Z and, you know, wishing that my arm technique was different.
Wait, why?
Because just visuals.
Well,
like,
there's a real frame of reference for riding a sandworm.
Right.
So you're trying to do it cool, and make it look strong. And so you're trying to okay, do I hold like this? Do I stand like this? Do I have my leg here? Do I, you're trying to have the strongest worm riding pose at the end of the day, because it's filmmaking, so you're trying to
figure it out.
figure it
Not
out.
just any weird gammy arms.
No. Well, they CGI'd all of it.
It's not me.
It's not you.
That's incredible, and just seeing you, the queen of poses, that was everything.
Yeah, figure it out.
I feel like we're all just foaming at the mouth for the action in part 2. And Josh, I was actually laughing when I was reading about you talking about how you and Javier were in full diet mode at the Oscars in prep for this film.
Panic mode.
Panic
It
mode.
wasn't diet, it was a panic.
That's hilarious. It is such a pleasure to meet you, Josh. I've always wanted to tell you that I think you have the greatest military face of all time. So it's an
I think that's a
honor
good
to
thing.
interview you as Gurney Halleck. It's a great thing in my house.
Good.
Gurney Halleck, so cool. Trusted advisor to Paul and House Atreides. But on his days off, he plays an instrument called the balisette. We were deprived of a scene in part 1, but I heard we're getting one in part 2. So what can you tell us about that scene? And did you guys ever have any Dune campfire music nights?
With the balisette? I would have liked
With
that.
or without the balisette?
No, we didn't. It sounds actually fun though to have to be practicing the balisette. The first one that Denis cut out because we did it, and it was right at the last second. He was like, "Hey, we're going to do this scene tomorrow morning. Can you learn the lyrics and all that?" So that was one thing, and I don't think it was because of that. It was just tonally, totally off, and I agreed. But he went down like a big shame spiral, and I'm so sorry, and I meant to this and that. And then this one came up, and for whatever reason, because Greg Fraser and I had done a book of my writing and Greg's photography, obviously revolving around the first Dune, and then so he was privy to the writing. So once this came up, he said, "I want you and Hans to collaborate on this song." And it sounds cool. It's a little unnerving.
That sounds
it's Hans
so
Zimmer.
epic.
And then, so I was sitting there for a month or a month and a half writing lyrics and sending Denis lyrics and sending Hans lyrics. And Hans was on vacation. And then he would send me back a picture of an iceberg or something, or a really nice sunset. And I was like, yeah, I need to work on the song. And he would send me the music to the song. So he would send me music once in a while, and it was wrong. And then it got so familiar that I was like, I don't know if Hans is right for this movie. And then eventually I saw the movie, and the lyrics are good. They're okay. And the music's brilliant. It's genius. So yeah, he makes me look really good.
That is an incredible story. You can feel the fun you guys are having viscerally in part 1. It's felt through, orchestrated by some of you, Denis' direction, Greg Fraser cinematography, Hans Zimmer's score. But Denis called this one a cinematic blast, actually. So I wanted to ask the both of you, what do you think he meant by that, and why is this a film that you have to see on the big screen?
What he meant by that is my guess is there's a certain level of world building in the first one that is ultra detailed, but is laying the groundwork. And here, this is like the skyscraper that goes on the concrete. It's full of action, not to put it lightly, or in a banal way. And it's epic. And not to, again, use that word in some silly way. It's epic. It's on a huge scale. It's done with integrity. It's done with heart. It's felt, everyone here, these amazing actors really brought their A game, and it's sci-fi material in the hands of the best director, so it's legitimized in some way. Not that it needs legitimizing, but anyway, it's a great one.
It's an experience on the big screen. You actually get to be there. You get to feel the drums and the running and the guns in your seat. You are at the edge of your seat from the moment you start watching it to the very end. I mean, I wept when I was looking at the credits of the CGI team, because there was this beautiful score that Hans had done, and I was just like, look at all these people that made this movie. The respect for every single person that worked on that movie is so high, and it's because everybody gave a damn and wanted to be there and wanted to create the same thing, the same beautiful experience that we all witnessed on the first. And then, but this time it's bigger, it's epic, it's an experience. There's only one way to watch this movie, and it's there with speakers.
Yes, I can't wait. And before I go, I have to ask, because after Frank Herbert wrote Dune, a lot of fans thought of Paul as a hero. And so according to Denis, he wrote Dune Messiah to prove that it was actually a warning. Denis has said he has words on paper for a part 3. For those of you who play characters in that book, would you be down? And what type of story do you think Denis would tell?
Would we be down? I mean, of course. Yeah, it was like.
Nah, we're all tapping out now.
I think, you know, anytime Denis calls, it's a yes for me, at least, you know. I mean, I'm excited to see what happens. I mean, I started Messiah and I was like, whoa, okay, we're shooting the first movie. Let me just go back to the first one, you know, because it's so much to take in, and I think there's no better hands with better care and love for it than him. So I think I'm just excited to see what's like, you know, we're all just like, it's just like anticipation. You know, whenever he's ready, I know he's like a perfectionist in many ways and doesn't want to share things unless he's fully ready to do that. So respecting that and wait till he's ready.
Well, at its core, Dune is a story of prophecy and fate versus free will. And I can say confidently that I think it was fate that you all were chosen to tell this story. So thank you so much for putting your art into it and doing it. And thank you guys so much for watching. Tickets to Dune Part 2 are on sale right now on Fandango.com. My name is Naz Perez, and hopefully I will see you next time in a pair of Nike Messiah Dune dogs.
Thanks to you.
Good
Those were
job.
amazing.
Yeah,
Thank you.
good
Thank
job.
you.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.